Hey friends, thanks so much for joining us on Love in the Time of Quarterbacks. This will be our first handicapping video for the year. I did post on my Twitter what I was playing on Thursday night, but the line had moved and the best numbers weren't there anymore, so I did not make it an official play. Otherwise, I would have made a video. I want to apologize for the lateness in posting this. Obviously, it's just been a busy week. Most weeks I will try to get out the video before the Thursday nighter. And there has been some line movement, and I do always talk about making sure you get the best number. For an example, I do have a teaser that I'm playing this week, and Washington would have been included because I would have been able to move them to +8, but because they are no longer +1 and they're now -1, that moves to 6. And even though I still like them there, I don't like it as much. There's not as much value, so I'm not making it an official play. So without further ado, I have 3 plays this week. Everybody knows I don't wager a ton in week 1. It's just not something I believe in. I don't think we know enough about everybody unless I see incredible value. Like I always talk about that Baltimore-Miami game where I smashed the Ravens. I talked about a few games last year where I thought that there were teams that had more consistency and therefore would start the year off better. And I mean, that still goes without saying. I still think there's teams that have had a bunch of change and things like that. And there's some teams that have been more consistent, and I'm more apt to stick around with those teams that are more consistent. So without even more further ado, the first play I'm making this week is on my Miami Dolphins. If you followed me all the way back to the blog days, in the last 10 years, I have taken the Miami Dolphins 9 times. Not bet against them, but bet on the Miami Dolphins 9 times, and I'm 8-1. I don't take them a lot. I think that my love for the team might influence my opinion, so I don't ever make them plays. So when I do bet on them, I don't usually make them official plays, but I really like them this week. I love the money line. This line essentially says that them and the Patriots are even teams. And I think that people are really high on the Patriots because they got some guys back from the COVID list and they spent an obscene amount of money this offseason. My issue is I don't love what they spent that money on. I think Jonnu Smith is probably the only guy that they spent money on this year who I really like. I know that people think that Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry is going to be the rebirth of Gronk and Hernandez. It's not. Both of them combined don't have Gronk's talent. Both of them combined don't have Hernandez's talent. But I do like Jonnu Smith as a safety blanket. And I do have some money on him for some overs this week, and just because I think he's going to be a good safety blanket for Mac Jones. Nelson Aguilar might be the worst wide receiver contract of the year. It's definitely the worst wide receiver contract of this offseason. Might be the worst of all time. It's atrocious. He's not very good. I don't think he would be a top 4 receiver on Miami, but that goes to tell you a lot about their situation on wide receiver. Also, they're missing Stephon Gilmore, so I think Tua is going to have a ton of options. I wish Will Fuller weren't suspended for this game, but that is what it is. He's still going to have a bunch of options. He's still going to have an opportunity to let Jalen Waddle loose. Devontae Parker is healthier. I mean, Devontae Parker's never actually healthy, but he's healthier. And and I really like some of the things that Miami has been doing. I'm a big fan. I think Tua looks a billion times better. I think Mike Gesicki's going to have a monster year because he's going to have a lot more opportunity. The one area where I think New England is far superior is at offensive line. Their offensive line is pretty much always good, and Miami's is struggling a whole bunch. But I think that this line says that these teams are equal, and I think Miami is better. I think that Miami is probably 4 or 5 points better, if I'm being honest, than the New England Patriots. I think that they're a much better team. I think the coaching edge that Belichick has over most guys isn't as big over Flores. I think Flores is probably one of the top 3 or 4 coaches in the league. And, if you followed me, you know that I don't always, that it's not because he's a Dolphins coach. I usually dislike the Dolphins senior management and coaches and things like that. But I'm a huge Flores guy, and I really believe in him, and I think the team does too. I think they're going to come out of the gates. I think that they are going to use some of those exotic blitzes on Mac Jones, and even if the offensive line handles them, I think it's going to affect him. Miami has done super well against quarterbacks that don't run, and Mac Jones definitely doesn't run. I think that the Pats are going to do an aggressive running scheme. I think they're going to try to make Mac Jones not have to do anything. But I think Miami's got a really good situation there where they don't have any receivers who are good, so Miami can run man with everybody, and have some of those safeties step up a little bit. Obviously, Eric Rowe is going to be covering Jonnu, but they can do a little bit more. They can have more guys going at stuffing that box a little bit, so that Damian Harris is going to have the other running backs are going to have a little harder time. So I think Miami's going to win. This is longer than I spend on most games because I'm excited to pick my team for a change. Because like I said, I never do it. So I am. It's a 1-unit play because I'm still a little bit scared that I'm betting with my heart. My recommendation in this, I'm also going to talk to you guys about line shopping a little bit. For instance, at 365, you get 150. At 5 times, you get 150. At Sports Interaction, you get 155. And at Pinnacle, you get 163 on the money line. It's why it's really important. The difference between 150 and 163 is, $13 on 100. That's pretty significant. You know what I mean? That's like 8% more. So yeah, I think it's silly not to line shop. So it's a 1-unit bet on the Dolphins money line. The next play that I like is the Minnesota Vikings. They are on the road to Cincinnati. They are a road favorite, and I know I'm supposed to, home dogs are supposed to be sexy in week 1 and things like that. I just really don't buy into Cincinnati. They're better. I like Joe Burrow. I think Mixon's going to have a better year, but they still didn't really address their offensive line. They keep trying this. Oh, we'll get scrap heaps and things like that. Ever since they lost the 2 offensive linemen to would have been St. Louis at the time and the Browns, I believe. Ever since they lost them, the team hasn't been good. The team has not been able to get back over the top. And, and Andy Dalton was always seen as a guy who was able to work with what he had. Well, when he had one of the better offensive lines in the league, the Bengals were division winners. And as soon as they let those guys go, thinking they weren't important, they stopped being able to compete, and they started being bad. And ever since then, their offensive line's been a hodgepodge, and it's been bad. And they go out and get guys like Bobby Hart and things like that, and and they take guys in the second round and stuff. And I said at the time, I thought passing on Sewell was a monster mistake, and the way that Chase has looked, it definitely looks like a monster mistake. Although Sewell's had some issues, mind you, that's because he's been working at right tackle instead of left tackle. But I still think passing on Sewell was a monster mistake for the Bengals. I think their defense is still not spectacular, so I think the Vikings, who are a much better team than they looked last year, they had some injury issues, they had some consistency issues. It was a rough year for them, but I think they're a better team than that. I think they're a borderline playoff team this year, and I think they're going to start that by mopping the Bengals pretty good. I also want to say I don't think Chase is going to be that guy forever. I like to tease I have a couple buddies who are big Bengals fans, and I like to tease them a lot because Chase has looked atrocious. I'm talking about how it's harder to catch in NFL football. You took a year off, dude. What were you practicing with, man? Like, that's crazy. But I think eventually he'll be fine. He won't be as good as Jalen Waddle, but, mistakes happen, boys. It is what it is. But yeah, I really do like the Vikes. I like the -3. The 3 lines that I found were 365 has them at -110, which is their standard square line. 5 times had them at -120, which is just nuts. And Pinnacle, being the sharper book, had him at -106. So far, both the bets we placed were at Pinnacle for that reason. That's a 2-unit play. I have more than that on them. I also have more than that on the Dolphins money line. But for the official play, it's a 2-unit play, Vikes -3. Lastly, it's another 2-unit. It's a 7-point teaser. I have Miami moving to +10. If they lose by double digits to the New England Patriots, I will vomit everywhere and probably cry a lot. And you guys should probably check up on me if that happens, because who knows what's gonna What's going to happen to my soul? I also have the San Francisco 49ers moving down to -1 and the Rams moving that down to minus -0.5. This is one that I played on 365 because I found that the odds were the best for those three teams on 365. If you put the 7-point teaser together, yeah, that's just where I am this week. Fins +10, San Francisco -1, Rams -0.5, 7-point teaser for 2 units, Vikings -3 for 2 units, and I have the Miami money line for a unit. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching as usual. Follow me on Twitter at CPT_handsome. If you have any questions or anything like that, you can always email me, captainhandsomesports@gmail.com. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching. Good luck. And as I always say, guys, be responsible, bet responsibly, don't bet more than you have, and never, ever, ever, ever touch the Barstool Sportsbook. They're criminals, they're crooks. I know you think they're cool guys, but they're horrible human beings, and their book is so corrupt. Don't touch it. That's almost as bad as gambling when you can't afford to, because in the long run, you'll never get to win. Every week, I'm going to remind you what a piece of garbage Dave Portnoy is and what absolute fraud his sportsbook is. Every week, I will do that because they're horrible and I don't want anybody spending money giving it to these crooks. All right, guys? Thank you. Have an amazing first Sunday of football. I am so excited, so pumped to watch the Dolphins mop the Pats. So have fun, guys. Be well. Thanks for watching.